guys won't stop talking.
And you can pretty much do it
Felger and Mazz.
in perpetuity.
Yep. The Sports Hub.
How have you felt the players have responded to your...
Well, not every day, Mike. Some of your sources probably aren't as good. I don't have a team meeting every single day in the spring.
Almost every day?
I
Close to?
Sometimes.
Regardless.
Most of the time.
You're in front of the room. How have you felt like the players have responded to your leadership because it was such a critical point last year?
I don't want to speak for the players. All I can do... I feel great. I feel like I'm trying to give them the information that are going to help them do their job. I've talked about this as far as the importance of the balance between their own success, which leads to great things for them and the people that they care about, but then also trying to manage that with the team. And that's a fine balance of the dynamic that we wage in this business of professional sports. And I try to do that each day. At a team meeting today, we watched the practice clips. We watched the ones that I felt like were good, even the positive ones, and then the ones that we need to focus on. And those weren't even mistakes. Some of them were, a guy, one or two extra steps into the middle of the pocket or to the rush, or just little things on how we want to practice. And the receivers turning and trying to get a block, which was so critical to a lot of our X plays last year, was just something simple as a guy, Pop Douglas or Austin Hooper turning and getting a block in Buffalo in a critical game on Sunday night that let Diggs go all the way to the 5-yard line. Or Kyle Williams blocking for Ramondre after a check down when we're backed up in the end zone against the Chargers that went for 50 yards and really, kind of swung the game in our favor from being backed up. So all those little plays that I can show them from the season, those all start in the spring. We can't just say, hey, it's September. Let's start trying to practice our identity.
Felger out all week. Mazz back in the Mazz chair. Me, Big Jim Murray here in Facilitation Station, taking your calls at 617-779-0985. Michael Hurley in my normal spot, chiming in, handling the updates. Good afternoon, gents.
Hurley Bird!
What's up? Been a while.
I know it has. Well, not for you and I, but I think for with at least a Felger or Mazz here.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
That was Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel speaking today for the first time since the NFL draft. Patriots start up their OTAs. They're one of 8 teams starting those today. Peppered with some questions there by Mike Giardi. I'll say he's not. I would have thought maybe a month ago, let's see how he's going to act. Mike Vrabel might be kind of moping around the place like Eeyore with everything that's been going on between him and Diana Rossini. Boy, he was his ball busty self. I felt like. I don't think anything has really changed there. That was one of my main takeaways.
He didn't feel shy. I was just going to ask you, what was the biggest thing to come out of that today for you?
He didn't feel all that different to me.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, on the one end, sorry to contradict myself, while he didn't feel all that different to me in terms of confidence, ball bustiness, that Mike Vrabel thing, he certainly wasn't as verbose as he used to be. Some things were pretty much quick and Belichickian, and that you're not going to be getting much on certain things.
So if I were to say to you, what was the biggest news to come out of, the biggest stories to come out of that thing today, what would you say?
Well, for me, it's that Christian Gonzalez isn't there.
Okay.
I mean, that's number one for me.
Hurley?
I found him to be a little bit filibustery. It was 18 and a half minutes he was up there, and he made sure to control as much of that as possible. There was a question sort of direct about how he's managing family and all that, and it was kind of awkward where he says, I love my wife and kids, and it was kind of weird. But then it goes into, we got 42 new players that weren't in the spring program last year, and when we do things a certain way, there's different rules. Like, for example, you have to do a jog through and blah, blah, and it was just you could tell he's trying to suck the air out of the room because the longer he talks, the fewer questions he's going to receive.
Belichickian.
Yeah.
Belichick, and I think that kind of stinks because Mike Vrabel's entire appeal is that he's no nonsense. He'll look you in the eye. He'll be forthright. And he's in this position now where the less he says about any of that, the better for him. And I just think it sort of takes away some of that magic that you had, whatever you want to call it, last year, where you're like, oh, this guy's the real deal. There's an element of, I don't want to call it hiding, but just avoiding and trying not to wade into that distraction. I think it kind of stinks.
I mean, Hurley, you were part of so many of Bill's things where one of the things he was so good at the podium was talking you guys to sleep. And I think Vrabel got coached up on that because at least he would give you something last year. And even when he was with the Tennessee Titans, I almost felt like he can't help himself because he's got big opinions and he's a big opinionated guy and he struts around like he runs the place, which he does. But there's something extra with Mike Vrabel. Now there's this Belichickian aspect of, hey, just talk them to sleep on some nonsense. And then that way there's going to be less time for them to ask questions what they really want to ask. And then you can get the hell out of there. It did feel that way.
So that's, to me, those are the two things that come out. Is that how Vrabel handled himself, to me, and obviously Christian Gonzalez. Those two things. I had a hard time separating the two. Look, Murray, I've worked in media a long time. So instinctively you say, what's the lead? I think it's kind of both. I think Vrabel's message today, if you want to know my opinion on his message was, I'm moving on. The rest of you don't have to, but I'm done talking about that, at least for now. If something else comes up, then we'll talk about it then. Otherwise, I'm here to coach football. I'm done with it. That's how I read that because he immediately changed the subject on every question. No, I'm good. I'm here. I'm ready. This is what I do. I coach football. I suspect he's somewhat relieved to get back into the routine of football so he doesn't have to sit there with his thoughts every night and lose his mind. Not to mention answer questions from his wife and his kids and whoever else that he has no answers to. So what are the answers for him? To get back into normal life and behave yourself. That's the answer for him.
Well, you got to think that's where he's most comfortable, especially right now. Right?
Absolutely.
So you're not surprised that he handled it this way, right?
No, I'm not. I mean, I would say on some level it is encouraging that we saw the banter. I thought the piece of audio with Giardi was the best audio. Okay, so to me it was him going back and forth with Giardi.
Agreed, because I didn't think, again, a month ago, I didn't know if we were going to get that.
No.
If he was going to be truly humbled and he was going to go in there and be kind of a mope, like, because I feel bad about what happened. Like, I did wonder if he was going to be like that, and it's clear he's not like that.
And for people
and good, by the way. If they're going to try to build off the success they had last year, he has to be that cocky, full of swagger Mike Vrabel, even if he has to fake it.
Absolutely. Look, again, it's an indication that he's trying to get back to who he was.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of how I look at it, is that he's trying to get back to who he was. Now, whether or not he gets all the way back there, I don't know. I mean, I would agree, Hurley, he was a little different today. First day back, maybe it'll get better. Who the hell knows? But there was some of it there. And that was, I think, for the people who want Vrabel to be Vrabel, I would say the little thing with Giardi was a good sign. And just quickly, because a lot of people forget, in the spring, at the end of April, Giardi wrote, Vrabel waited to address the media / public about the photos of him and Diana Rossini, formerly of The Athletic, until he spoke to his team. I'm told the initial conversation went about as well as could be expected. But when more information came to light, Vrabel felt the need to speak to them and us again. The internal response to that wasn't as forgiving. Vrabel remembered it. And you know what that was, at least in a contextual sense? F you, Giardi. F you. That's what that was. And I'm not picking on Mike. Like, I'm just saying he
No, it could have been written by
there was
anybody.
Attitude behind it.
Yeah, he would have given that attitude to anyone that wrote that.
Right, exactly right. So the point is that some of the attitude was back. Not all of it. Some of it. The other thing is the bigger news story, at least as it pertains to from this point forward, right? In one way, it was Vrabel trying to put an end to the Rossini story, but the door opened on the Christian Gonzalez story.
Yeah.
So he was asked about Christian Gonzalez. Phil Perry asked Vrabel specifically. I'm sorry, Mario, just jump in. And he said this.
Christian Gonzalez isn't going to be practicing today. Is he with the team right now?
We're not going to get into specifics about everybody's whereabouts. I love the communication that I've had with everybody. Again, whenever he's out on the practice field, we'll be able to coach him. You guys will be able to see him, and you guys will be able to report on him.
That's such a Belichick move.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I have this question about one specific person. Well, we're not going to tell where everyone is, so deal with it.
How do you read it?
Oh, I don't think you're going to see him for these OTAs. And I'm not surprised. The last time we heard or saw anything from Christian Gonzalez, what was his message? Sitting at the Celtics game. Pay me. Me rubbing my hands together like Johnny Manziel. That universal, well-known motion of, I want my money. It's time for me to get paid. That's the last time we heard or saw anything from Christian Gonzalez. You don't see him the day one, and I know it's voluntary, of the OTAs. And on this one, I side with him, or at least I understand it. if I'm due for now what I think is a bigger payday, I'm one of the only handful of Patriots that did show up on the biggest stage in Super Bowl 60. It's time for me to get mine. If this is voluntary, yeah, I'm not showing up.
I mean, we have a thing now.
Yeah.
Right? Don't we have a Christian Gonzalez contract thing?
If I want more money, you're not getting extra out of me until you pay me that money.
Well, plus this, go back, 10 months. When did Christian Gonzalez get hurt? At practice last year. Ended up missing 8 weeks because of it. So I'm going to go out there and tweak a hamstring and miss games, which in turn will cost money. Like maybe he'll show up week 1 because he can actually go out there and earn money toward next year. But all camp, like I don't see the benefit. If I'm, what's he due to make this year? Like $6 million?
Something like that. Yeah,
like it's insane. Like it would be irresponsible for him to take the field. So to sort of downplay it the way it was today, I don't think there's many buyers when Mike Vrabel goes out and does it.
Oh, look, the way Vrabel answered the question tells you plenty. He wouldn't address why Gonzalez wasn't there. He wouldn't speculate on why Gonzalez wasn't there. He played it straight, which means Gonzalez is not there for the contract. Mike Reese even asked him specifically whether it was about the contract. He wouldn't speculate.
Not even, Michael. It seems like it'd be just short of $4 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I'm not showing up.
Yeah, he shouldn't. Look, again, so this is like, this is the Patriot way. Bust the balls over your player whose head you have over a barrel or who might have yours and pretend that you have the leverage. So I think this is a full-blown thing now, and it's going to be a story every day until the guy shows up and plays. And for the repercussions for the 2026 Patriots, you're right, Murray. This is the bigger story. It is,
the Vrabel Rossini thing. And look, and I've enjoyed it. I'm a little burnt out on it at this point because I don't think it's going to really go any further until she speaks. I enjoyed it, but it feels like that's over. Now it's as the team is returning to the field. This is the thing that's more interesting to me.
It's the more tangible story as far as how it will impact the team. This guy was one of their best players, if not their best player in the Super Bowl. I know there are some people out there that disagree with it, but they're going to need Christian Gonzalez. And there are other guys that aren't in camp. He's not the only one. But given the contract issue, how many freaking contract situations have the Patriots had with players over the years busting their balls, and the majority of them end up leaving because they don't get their money? And look, in the case of Belichick, there was that whole thing of 1 year too early, better than 1 year too late. In Christian Gonzalez's case, how do you say that now? Just pay the effing guy.
Or trade him. One or the other. Like, let's not, this isn't
fair point.
This isn't something that should get drawn out, especially for a team, Mazz, and I think you agree. Look, I know they've made some changes up front, but I still think they're going to try to scheme pressure this year. And if Mike Vrabel and his coordinators are going to try to scheme pressure, you need good players on that back end in your secondary. So pay them. Either pay him or trade him. Like, let's not draw this thing out over the whole summer. Then it's going to become a giant pain in the ass and a distraction.
Yeah, you got to make a call one way or the other. My guess is they're just busting his balls, and the football people are going to tell me how much of OTAs are going to matter for a defensive back. It is a passing camp, so I would argue that of the players on the defense, the secondary guys are probably going to miss it the most. Carlton Davis isn't there either, so they're going to be without their two best corners at the start of camp. And, not to mention Mac Hollins is a receiver. He's not there. Booty's not there. So
no surprise. I mean, they're looking to trade Keyshawn Booty.
Yeah, and Vrabel, on some level was asked about just about every one of those players with the exception of he wasn't really asked about Hollins or Davis. He kind of volunteered that. But, I saw, again, to me, today was about seeing some of the old Vrabel and the new story with Gonzalez. Like, I think they are... Those two things were front and center, and from this point forward, the Gonzalez story will mean more to the Patriots, at least as it pertains to the team on the field.
All right, what were your takeaways from Mike Vrabel speaking today for the first time since the NFL draft, and where this goes with Christian Gonzalez? Join us at 617-779-0985. More from Mike Vrabel coming up here on Felger and Mazz next.
Now, more of Felger and Mazz. Now, on the Sports Hub.
Because you mentioned Gonzo, and it's just interesting on Gonzo because he's eligible for an extension for the first time. How much of his spring participation has been maybe impacted by that dynamic of the contract?
I don't know what that, again, those are personal choices for players. I would say that I value the communication that I've had personally. I know that our defensive coaches that have had conversations with Christian, again, I wish that they were all here so that we can coach them. but the ones that are here, that's where our focus will be, and we'll pour everything that we have into those players. But I know that his professionalism and being ready to go, or whatever personal choice that these some guys have during the spring, I'm confident that they'll all be ready.
Mike Vrabel earlier today, speaking for the first time since the NFL draft, talking about Christian Gonzalez, who was a absentee. Excuse me, absentee. These allergies this season have been out of control. My apologies for being so phlegmy. Gonzalez an absentee. I'm not that surprised, because he wants that money. Again, the last time we saw him sitting courtside Celtics game during the playoffs, pay me, the universal sign of putting my fingers together. It's either that or when you're at town hall and you're yelling at them when they're going to raise taxes. That's a universal sign for the taxes. That's not what Christian Gonzalez was doing. He said it's time for me to get paid. So without him and Carlton Davis, who was also not at OTAs, just like he wasn't last year. Remember, he was out on a speedboat or something. No, it was jet skis.
Jet skis.
Yeah. Well,
very good.
A veteran kind of likes to have his times before he has to go back to work. I'm not going to hold that much against him, and he ended up having a really good season for the most part. But do know, if either of them were not to play this year, you'd be looking at, let's see here, their top two corners today were Kobe Minor and Kendall Prunty. Was that one? Karan Prunty, sorry. Those are two guys that I frankly didn't even know were really on the roster. Prunty was one of the draft picks this year, right?
Correct. He was the one in the fourth round who was sort of the reach that everyone, because he's been to 3 schools, and I don't exactly know why, but he did have a pick.
Oh, today against Drake May?
Picked off the MVP runner-up. Sounds like a good pick to me, Murray.
So how long do you think this thing goes on for?
A while. To me, again, this is, I would say, it wouldn't shock me if it goes till training camp at least and into the season. And I hate to be like the harbinger or the predictor of doom, but this one feels to me like it's going to be a dig-in fight. Do you remember all the stuff that, Elliot Wolf has been saying in the preseason about how he has a contract, he's under contract, he has a contract.
Those were tells of we're not going to be willing to go to the table with you right now.
In retrospect, given all the stuff that was said during the offseason, that I think the Patriots are holding the line. And Gonzalez wants his contract. And he has every right to want his contract based on the way things have been transpiring in the league over the last number of years, meaning the defensive backs especially getting their contracts after their third season. He just finished his third season. So it was heading this way. And the question was whether or not Gonzalez was going to put his foot down, or his agents were going to put their foot down and say, you're not going to go. Now, the mini camp is a few weeks away. That is mandatory. Let's see what happens there, but I'm not expecting him to be here for the next 2 weeks. Are you?
No.
Or at least on the field?
No, not for these. The mini camp will be the real tell. If you don't see them there, then okay, like we really truly have something on our hands. This could just be like, because it does sound to me, based on that clip that we've played and anything with Vrabel today talking about Christian Gonzalez, is that there has been communication there. And maybe it's just as simple as between Gonzalez and some of the defensive people that, just defensive staff, or even Vrabel himself, him saying, like, look, you understand where I'm at right now. Like, I can't. My agent has made the rules here, and I'm following his, what he wants me to do. So I'm not going to be at these. Let's hopefully we can get this figured out between now and the mandatory minicamp. And that's it. And hopefully that they will. But if they don't, you're not going to see him at that either. I
mean, if you're him and you're not going to go to this, don't you have to sit that out too? I mean, again, you'll pay fines for the days you miss, but how many days total is minicamp?
3.
3 days.
Isn't that don't they do the sit in now or the hold in? So they'll go and be like, my finger's a little sore today.
Or they ride the bike or something.
Yeah, I'm
like
gonna be in
that.
the gym, but I don't think I can go out there. I don't want to get my fingernail hurt.
But I'll tell you what. Let's say he actually doesn't even do that. 3 days. It's $150,000 max ish, thereabouts. I don't know how exactly it works with the CBA, but the fines can range. I was reading anywhere from, $10,000 or $20,000 to $50,000, $55,000. If I were him, I'd take the hit. I wouldn't come at all. It's like here we go with the Patriot way. Just stick it right up your backside when it comes time to get the deal. So, new era, same nonsense.
If this thing was probably going to play out this way regardless, what I would like to know is if Gonzalez and his team, his agent, were miffed at that 50-year option getting picked up. Like, do they look at that as some sort of financial handcuff, for lack of a better term. Like, oh, what, you think I'm going to play for this? Like, I thought we were going to try to figure this out before you picked that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Murray, I think that I think that's how the Patriots look at it, and that pisses them off. In other words, didn't you expect them to pick up the fifth-year option?
Yes, and the way that Elliot Wolf talked about it, sorry to cut you off, is it does sound like they're saying, hey, we gave you the 5th year. We expect you to play for this 5th-year option, and that in turn pissed Gonzalez and his agent off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think in and of itself, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think in and of itself it was the act of picking up the option. I think they expected that. I think it really comes down to
the attitude behind it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In tandem with how they are using it in the negotiation. So if you didn't want to pick up the 5th year, don't pick up the 5th year. Fine. No problem. Don't pick it up. He'll be a free agent a year sooner. So it's advantageous to them to pick it up. To not pick it up would have been stupid. For him, there was no real benefit to the extra year. He's looking for something much bigger than that. And he should be looking for something much bigger than that. It just what goes up my ass is when there's a certain way of doing business. The player is entitled to approach it the way he's approaching it, especially in that league where the money's not guaranteed. You got to squeeze for every nickel you can get. When you have the opportunity to cash in, you cash in. So he's coming off his 3rd year. Timing is right. He had a good postseason. He showed his value in the postseason. If they don't deem him to be of need for them, trade his ass. To play this stupid back and forth game is ridiculous.
It's a waste of everyone's time.
Can I ask you guys a potentially dumb question? And I know, you don't want to run a team like this, but literally last year, Sauce Gardner signed a big year extension, and he's traded in the middle of the year, and they get 2 first-round picks for it. So can't you just give him market value? If at some point, whether it's this year, whether it's next year when you have to start paying Drake May, say, all right, you trade him, and then you still get that value. Why can't they just – he's worth that much. We agree most of the league would place his value at whatever it may be, at the top of the market. Can't you just give him that deal?
With the intention of trading him?
I know that's not really great roster planning long-term, but if 2 years down the line it's going to be a problem, that doesn't really affect you, right? This is a bigger problem now than that's going to be then if he still has that value.
Yeah, Mike.
And the price is only going to go up, too. I see your point.
So, that's the other thing, Mike, to your point. The value of that position is going to go up. A premium corner is always going to get paid in the NFL. It's a passing league.
And if you're a team that's not nickel and diming everyone, you look at the deal and be like, yeah, that's what he's worth. Well, I'll trade for him.
Right.
The Colts did it in the middle of a year.
Exactly right. Yep, exactly right. And maybe you can get a little bit more if you trade him now because you leave the negotiation up to the new team. So maybe they can get more in terms of the deal then, and they can structure the contract however they want. Or even that is fixable because with you can renegotiate or restructure the deal after a year or once a year, I think it is, right? So the all of that is that the opportunity is there. They're dinking around with them.
Like they always do.
They're dinking around with them. So, again, they want to talk about building the roster and we have to hit on our draft picks. But then it comes time to pay them and they don't want to pay them.
If they've done it with the likes of, I don't know, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, Vince Wilfork, Logan Mankins, and on it goes. They'll do it to anybody. So Christian Gonzalez isn't any kind of exception here.
Am I naive for thinking it was going to be a little different now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to pay the quarterback, right? We're not doing this next year, are we?
Jimmy thinks that's going to be a thing. When Mike is here, he's usually yelling at him. He's like, "There's no way they're going to mess with the quarterback and his money." I don't know. Follow their track record.
Well, let's see it then.
Yeah,
let's see if they give him real money or not. I still have questions. I need to see it.
Yeah, right.
But there might be a direct connection between that and this.
Definitely. Well, right. We can't pay you because we got to save it to pay him.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
But let's see him actually pay the quarterback.
Yeah.
They just got a boatload of private equity money. They got 9% of the team, so they got money for it.
I tend to side with...
Or is that for the World Cup? I'm sorry, I'm asking.
I do tend to side with Felger that there's no way they would mess with Drake May's money, but man, if they did, I wouldn't ultimately be surprised if they did. If that became a thing, that would be so dumb.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised by it.
It's a business, brother.
It is. What you gonna do, brother, when it's time for you to get paid? You're going to end up having to sit out. That's what, when you're dealing with the Patriots. Couple open lines. Your thoughts on Mike Vrabel speaking today, the Christian Gonzalez situation. He was not at day one of these OTAs. 617-779-0985. 2 your calls after the headlines here with Michael Hurley.
We'll back to the phones for the 5 o'clock hour. Mazz, unless you have a fresh thought for us.
God, no.
Felger and Mazz, 98.5 Sports Hub.
The OTAs, the first day just wrapped, so why don't we speak to someone who was down there and get a little bit more insight as to how the team looked for the first time since they've taken a football field since Super Bowl 60 and lost the Seattle Seahawks. Joining us here, it's our very own Alex Barth here of 98.5 Sports Hub here on our expert hotline, joining us from Foxborough. Hello, Barth.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Always so chipper and happy. Barth, what did the quarterback look like? We'll start there. I've seen some photos. He looks a little bit more bulked up. Is he a little bit more bulky to you? And talk about what you saw there. Because I know, look, this is there's how much we can evaluate here in terms of no pads, OTAs. I know take it with a grain of salt, but how did Drake May look?
Alex, is he bulked up or is he fat?
Well, Dan Roach, I don't know if you guys heard the exchange yet, asked him if he's thick with 2 C's. But he definitely looks a little bulkier. I would say good bulk. I don't think he looks fat by any means. And that's important because one of the big things for him is going to be durability and just having more weight on him to absorb some of those hits, especially if he's going to run as much as he has. It's something that he needed to do. So it's good to see he did it. I'm not entirely surprised that was seemingly part of his offseason program.
All right, muscular, not fat, but was he on the same page with the receivers that were out there today?
For the most part, he had 1 miss. Now, the bright side is he threw 4 picks in the first OTA last year. He's down to 1 this year, so significant improvement. He threw one inside to Kyle Williams on an out route that got jumped. Besides that, I thought he looked good with the receivers. Looked like he was on the same page with Romeo Doubs. That's the one guy I was really looking for, like, okay, new receiver. These guys haven't worked together. And I thought that they were about where I'd expect them to be at this point, contrary to, Julian Hill had one play where Drake May tried to hit him deep, and I don't think Hill thought he was getting the ball. He was running a deep flag and just kind of pulled up on the route, and so it ended up as an overthrow. But I thought May and Dobbs were on the same page, which was good to see.
Okay, what about the O-line in front of him? What was the preliminary alignment there, Alex?
So going left to right, it was Will Campbell at left tackle. Andrew Rupcich was at left guard for the most part. Elijah Vera-Tucker looked limited. He's still coming back from an injury last year, so I would assume that's his spot once he's healthy. Jared Wilson at center, Mike Onwenu at right guard, and then in each period it started with Morgan Moses at right tackle, and then about halfway through, Caleb Lomu would rotate in, and he took the second half of each team period at right tackle.
Okay, any observations on Lomu?
His stance changed. That was the first thing that stood out to me. He's not as upright. He's lower to the ground before the snap. It actually looks a little bit more like Morgan Moses' stance, and I wonder if that's, maybe a veteran helping out a young player. In terms of the actual, again, they can't really hit. It's hard to evaluate the blocking. I thought it all looked tied together. You're just looking for coordination when a guy switches sides. No real glaring issues there. But the fact he changed his stance, and Mike Vrabel mentioned this before practice, there were some technique things that he didn't get coached on at Utah that they want him to do, that Vrabel feels like he's taken the coaching well, and I think the stance is probably a good example of that.
Barth, Vrabel explained to us in great detail before the session about how he doesn't value full-speed run game reps when they're not in full pads. So given that, to me, they've invested so much with the fullback and with the tight end into was it evident at all that they've changed sort of their philosophy and how they at least line up to run the ball?
I don't know that they changed. To me, last year they were lining up for a fullback philosophy without a fullback. And you saw Jack Westover at times. You're like, a guy who's a true fullback maybe would have done more to make that play. So he did get involved in the passing game a little bit. All the fullbacks did. So maybe they're changing a little bit there. But I think it's more the personnel meeting the system than changing the system to meet the new personnel. I think they were running things for the fullback last year without having a true fullback. But again, you see Gilliam do a little more, and he's talked about that. He believes he can do a little more as a pass catcher in this offense.
Alex, what'd you think of Vrabel? How he handled himself?
Yeah, it seemed, call it business as usual. It didn't seem any different one way or the other. He was still very hands-on with individual players. There was one period where they're not even going on a full rush, and he's going through technique with Draymond Jones. Spent most of the practice behind the offense, which was the case last year. And even in the press conference before practice, took a couple questions about everything that's been going on and really just kind of kept going back to today's practice. He's looking forward to be out there today. He's looking forward to be out there this spring in the coaching side of it. So definitely see it. You wouldn't have noticed much between one of last year's press conferences and today, I would say, or the practice.
Outside of Drake May going from 4 picks day one last year to 1 this year, was there any other noticeable differences from last year's day one of OTAs to this year's?
The line's just more settled. And I know I talked about there's a guy in a rotation, but at this time last year, we weren't sure. Was Campbell going to be the week 1 starter? Were they going to develop him? There was questions at the guard spots. The big takeaway last year, one of my big takeaways about the line was it looked like Wes Schweitzer, this guy they signed for $1 million to no fanfare in free agency, was going to be the starting left guard. And it looked like that all the way until he retired before minicamp. So and I guess that extends to other positions too, but really the line being settled and, okay, these are the guys, that's going to help them so much as they go through the install period. Just no moving pieces, right? You know what you have to work with, and you can coach and build around that.
But, go. Sorry,
good, but good vibes, because obviously, look, it's been a tumultuous offseason for the head coach, but everything kind of felt up for the most part.
Oh, yeah. No, I thought it was good energy. I thought there was, a lot of energy, guys moving around. You didn't, again, that cloud, I know some people are wondering if there's like a cloud over the team. It didn't exist today.
Okay, what about Christian Gonzalez? I mean, astonishingly, if I'm going to take shots at people who, don't ask questions, we got about 5 questions in. None of us asked you about Christian Gonzalez not being there. So what do you make of it, Alex? Are we in for a contract dispute here, or like a legit, drawn-out, long contract dispute, or is it something else? You tell me.
Look, it's a fair question, and guys in his position have, in terms of being eligible for that major extension, have held out. We won't really know until minicamp. I doubt they're going to say anything. If he's not there for minicamp, it is now officially a holdout. I wonder if he does the thing. I kind of half expect him to do it today, and maybe he does it one of these later practices. You see guys show up, and they're there, but they're in a T-shirt and shorts, and they're off to the side, and it's like, hey, I'm here, right? Let's talk, but they're not actually going out there on the field and going about it and doing the physical risk or whatever you want to call it. So it's a situation to watch for now, pending any further reporting, because he did not have to be here today, and he does not have to be here for the OTA practices. Carlton Davis, the other starting cornerback, was not here as well. But if he's not here for minicamp, I mean, there's no question about it. He's holding out at that point.
It's all super positive. I would expect nothing less from Barth, who even sounds like he's got more pep in his step because the Pats are back.
Then let's ask this. Barth, all right, listen, it's just me and you, all right? How'd the punters look today?
Did anyone suck?
How's the hang time on those punts?
They did not do any punting. I can tell you this. So Lan Larison looked to be in the lead for the third running back job. He did have a kind of bad drop. Lan Larison. He was here last year. He hurt his foot. He was on IR.
Lando Calrissian.
And you had Julian Hill pull up on the go ball. That was one where I was like, new quarterback, you're trying to start to work with him, like run the route, right? So that one stood out to me as a negative. Those would be the 2 big ones for me, would be Julian Hill pulling up on the route and a drop from Lan Larison.
All right, Alex Barth down at day one of the OTAs. Of course, read his coverage at 985thesportshub.com. Always a pleasure, Barth.
I'm disappointed in you, Barth. I'm disappointed. I think the Gonzalez thing is already a thing. I don't think we have to wait till minicamp. Here today, now, he should be there, shouldn't he?
He's not out there. It's a thing. He's not out there. It's a thing. But I can't tell you 100% being the one down here reporting it. That's not. I haven't been told anything about it, so I don't want to say something that's not true. But yeah, no, the guy who's eligible for a new contract wasn't on the field. It's absolutely notable, and it's fair to question if it's a holdout.
I mean, that's a big story. We've been waiting to see whether or not he would do anything like this, and we've been talking about it, all off season. Now here we are, and Vrabel said this himself today. This is not the off season anymore. This is the preseason. That's what he called it, the preseason. And arguably their best defensive player or second best defensive player isn't in camp because he's about to start a contract dispute. That's news, don't you think?
Oh no, my notebook's not up yet. It will be on 985thesportshub.com. That's what first bullet in the notebook is attendance. First one is attendance, and in attendance is Christian Gonzalez. I think it was the biggest story to come out of today, was that he wasn't there, and we'll see. Maybe he shows up next week, and that changes the dynamic, but him not being there is absolutely notable. I don't disagree with that.
Put his name in the headline. Make sure you put his name in the headline.
I think Matt Dolph is writing a separate post on just that. So we'll have that for people as well on 985thesportshub.com.
Good. At least someone over there has got a sense of news judgment.
All right. I think Mazz is done berating you, Barth. Thanks for taking the time and joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Alex Barth here of 98.5 The Sports Hub. Again, read his stuff at 98.5thesportshub.com and follow him on Twitter X at Real Alex Barth. All right, now your calls. We'll get to those coming up in our long commercial-free segment. Your thoughts on Mike Vrabel speaking today, the Christian Gonzalez situation, anything Patriots-related you want to talk on. 617-779-0985. Your calls next.
Felger and Mazz continue on the Sports Hub.
How aware are you of the A.J. Brown rumors? How much do you know about him, and how fun would it be to throw to a guy like that?
Yeah, I think it's part of the NFL. They throw names around there, around every team, depending on whoever looks best in the graphic and the jersey on social media. So, I'm really just focused. We have some new guys in here that I'm working with, and I know there's some, a lot of talk with that. But, if he ends up being on our team, great. What a great player. And if he doesn't, we still got to work these guys here. So it's a tough balance, but I know he's a phenomenal player.
So that is May being asked about A.J. Brown, who feels like, I'm of the belief that this thing's happening. I stand by what I heard. I don't even think it was that big of news because it feels like I think most people think that A.J. Brown's going to end up here, barring some sort of madness of another team swooping in or something like that. But, based on what I heard, he spoke with someone down the Seaport, one of those fancy condos. Him and his people were talking about buying a place here. He's coming here. He even had, I think it was Devin McCourty. Was he on with Kay Adams on FanDuel yesterday saying,
I think it was Jason McCourty.
Jason McCourty,
yeah.
Sorry. This thing is as good as done. It's happening.
You've got Patriots players just talking about him at the podium.
Yeah.
Well, if it does happen, he's a great teammate, great guy. I've never seen that before.
Right. Even to hear Drake May was super confident talking about that right there. There wasn't anything like that. I think it's a done deal. We're Hurley, you're in with us, Michael Hurley here on Felger and Mazz today. Do you think this thing it's fait accompli, or could it fall through? A.J. Brown's a Patriot?
It is, and I was just reading up. Albert Breer had an update today. I thought maybe there'd be something new. No, it's still the same. I think the only thing that can sort of warp your mind on it is if you're a Warrior. This seems like, and people might say, well, what if another team swoops in and the Eagles sort of do you dirty? I don't know. I think given that everyone sort of understands that it's a done deal, these guys have reputations. I know Howie Roseman's probably the best GM in the league, or one of them, has probably the most job security in the league. He is just as motivated to not screw you over as you would be not to screw them over. I feel like when you make a deal, you have to see it through. I can't imagine something changing.
Isn't it a bigger story at this point? I know we've touched on this before, Murray, but isn't it a bigger story if he's not here?
Oh, yes.
It's reached the point where he hasn't moved. We know they're going to move him. They know they're going to move him.
You keep hearing reports that teams like the Chiefs, the Rams, anyone else out.
Jacksonville even popped in there, right? And yet nobody has made the deal, and the Patriots have always been there, and all the insiders are still staying the Patriots. And I understand it hasn't happened yet. It should happen at the beginning of the week. But don't you feel that as of today, with Vrabel returning, Gonzalez not being there, we still don't know about A.J. Brown. We still don't know whether Will Campbell's going to play left tackle or Lomu's ultimately going to move over there. And I thought Vrabel's answer on that was interesting, too, because at the end of last season, you remember Vrabel was saying Will Campbell's our left tackle.
Yes.
Well, he didn't exactly say that today. So they're certainly leaving the door open to make a move. And
as they should. They should not be locked into it just because, Vrabel likes the guy and they like the cut of his jib and he's, what's the term that they always use now? He's a glass eater or anything like that. I think he's got a good football mentality. He just might not be built for the position is all.
And I know that camp hasn't started yet. Real camp. But, man, it feels like there are a lot of balls in the air right now still with their roster, where guys are going to play. And you'd like to think that there's been a little bit more solidified there, but we don't have a lot of those answers yet. We really still don't have an answer on Vrabel's personality or whether or not there's anything more coming. I sort of feel like you feel.
To me, that one is one I feel like we have more of an answer on. Again, that could change if Diana Rossini ends up speaking and she says something crazy that really, makes him look terrible. But I think we have a better read on what Mike Vrabel's personality is going to be because we saw that he was that Mike Vrabel of last year. Kind of more than he was than I expected today. If a month ago again, if he showed up all glum and was like, no, I don't know, I was like, oh boy, I don't know if he's going to be the same guy. To me, he looks like he's the same guy, based on him speaking today.
He wants it to be over. He wants it to be over. I don't know if it is. It's hard for anybody to make a prediction on what else is coming out. But to me, that was his whole vibe today. I'm moving on. That's how it felt. I'm done talking about it. I've apologized to the people I've needed to apologize to. I love my wife. I love my kids. And now it's time for football. This is what I do. This is what I've done my whole life. And again, I'm paraphrasing. But to me, it felt like him saying, I'm going to answer this now, but I'm moving on. I'm moving on to the next thing, and I expect everyone else to move on too. The only question is whether or not there's going to be something else that pops up that prevents him from moving on.
Which is pretty bold, considering he still hasn't really addressed it. Like, he did the bare minimum of public addressing this thing. Like, I came up short in the expectations I have from it. Like, there has been no actual discussion about it, which I get it. It's a strange thing. Like, a press conference setting is a weird thing to go up and talk about your personal life. But maybe in a one-on-one setting, maybe in some sort of sit-down interview, whether it's written or on camera, whatever it may be, just because without that, nobody's going to move on. Like, there has to be some sort of statement of where you're at. And I know you don't want to get into every detail, but literally just talking in sort of vague generalities like, oh, I came up short in my expectations and I want to do this and be better here. It's like, I don't know. People, I think, want a little bit more understanding of what you're like. We know what you're talking about, but you should have to talk about it.
Do you think people are still hung up on it?
I don't know. Some people, sure.
Are you?
No, but there's that sort of, like, if you were at that press conference today, you're kind of like, well, what do you even ask? You know, like there's no great angle into it because of that sort of shell he's put around himself. I think people are hung up on it. Yeah. Maybe not like they were a month ago.
I think people have started to move on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not the fever pitch it was 5-6 weeks ago. Not even close.
Yeah, I think, and I mean the public and even the media on some level. Like, I just think it sort of has, in their minds, has played out absent a new development.
Yeah, because how many weeks was it? 2 weeks ago when you sort of got a new picture every day?
Yeah, and those last few photos where they were at some casino and she was like in his ear. Even I enjoyed the content.
That
of the
picture
story.
could be Tony Mazz and Jim Murray. Like, it was a loud room, someone talking into someone's ear.
That's what I said. But she also kind of maybe could have had her tongue down his ear. But also those photos to me, Michael, where I was like, yeah, big deal. Like, I don't care at this point. The ones on the dock when she's 6 months pregnant, those were juicy. Those were worth talking about. Those last sets of photos, I was like, all right. Like, you got anything real here that's tangible? Because this feels like, these are just people been like scrolling through their phone and like, I think I remember. Oh, here's the photo. Let me sell this for close to $1,000 at TMZ. And it was just felt like bottom of the barrel stuff that didn't further the story. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, of course. And it was, I don't want to say more of the same. There were sort of smaller developments, but there's got to be another development, I think, for the thing to get life breathed into it. I think, to me, he felt like a guy eager to get back to work. And look, this is not unusual, right? You have something like that going on, and people say, well, how do you focus when you go to work? I think that work...
you compartmentalize.
Right. It's an escape is what it is. You get away from it. And you get to get back into your normal routine, and you get to be yourself again, at least in your mind. And so I remember with guys who would have, like, something going on with their family, one of their kids were sick or whatever, and they'd show up at the ballpark and say, this is where I get to forget about it, and I just get to go play baseball, and I don't have to think about anything. And so I suspect Vrabel's having a similar experience. I want to get back to work. I want to do what I do and get back to our normal routines and get back to what our life is, because that last thing was disruptive enough, and presumably he won't make the same mistake.
All right, Michael Hurley is going to get you caught up with the headlines. No commercials here. And then right to your calls on Mike Vrabel, him speaking today. Same with Drake May, anything Patriots related. A couple open lines you want to join us, 617-779-0985. But the headlines and then your calls here on Felger and Mazz next.